The Galactic Arena. The Galactic Arena was the grandest event in the known universe. It was not merely a competition. It was a spectacle of dominance, a showcase of strength, speed, and survival skills. Every major species in the galaxy sent their finest warriors to compete. The arena was where alliances were forged, rivalries were reignited, and respect was earned. For centuries, humanity had been considered an insignificant species. Their frail bodies and short lifespans made them the subject of ridicule among the more advanced and evolved races. So when the Terran Union announced they would send representatives to the Galactic Arena, the galaxy erupted in laughter. "They're going to be squashed like bugs," one Drellan ambassador mocked. "What's the point? They'll surrender before the first round ends," sneered a towering Lorton general. Inside the massive arena on Chiron 7, the air buzzed with excitement. Thousands of alien spectators filled the stands, their multicolored forms creating a kaleidoscope of motion. The scent of alien cuisines and the hum of advanced technology added to the atmosphere. The first event was moments away. The announcer, a holographic projection of a six-eyed alien with a booming voice, floated above the crowd. "Welcome to the Galactic Arena. Today, we have a special surprise. For the first time ever, the humans will participate." The crowd erupted into laughter, their voices echoing across the arena. It was a joke to them, a comedy act to kick off the games. The massive gates on one side of the arena creaked open, revealing the human team. 5 figures stepped into the light, their steps steady but unassuming. Dressed in simple gray uniforms, they looked painfully out of place against the backdrop of the heavily armed and biologically enhanced alien competitors. "Is this some kind of prank?" a nearby spectator asked, his tentacles writhing with amusement. The humans paused in the center of the arena, their leader, a man named Captain Darius Kane, surveying the crowd. His face was calm, unreadable. Behind him, his team stood silently, their expressions a mirror of his determination. The announcer continued, his voice dripping with mock enthusiasm. "The first challenge is the survival gauntlet. Let's see if our fragile friends from Earth can last even a few minutes." The ground beneath the humans trembled as mechanical gates around the arena opened. From the shadows emerged a pack of alien beasts, each one a nightmarish fusion of claws, teeth, and muscle. They roared and screeched, their eyes glowing with predatory hunger. The crowd roared with excitement, already predicting the humans' demise. "This will be over in seconds," shouted a spectator. The beasts charge, their massive forms kicking up clouds of dust as they closed in on the humans. But then, something unexpected happened. Captain Kane raised his hand, and the humans activated their exosuits. From seemingly nowhere, sleek, black armor began to unfold around their bodies, wrapping them in a protective shell. The suits gleamed under the harsh arena lights, their design both alien and terrifyingly advanced. The crowd fell silent, their laughter dying in their throats. "What is this?" an alien whispered, his voice trembling with confusion. The beasts reached the humans, but the battle was far from over. With a speed that defied their earlier appearance, the humans moved. Kane's exosuit-enhanced fist connected with the largest beast, sending it flying across the arena. Another team member, a woman named Lieutenant Aria Voss, unleashed a plasma blade from her suit, cutting through 2 beasts in a single strike. The crowd watched in stunned silence as the humans tore through the gauntlet. Their movements were precise, their attacks brutal. The once mocking spectators now leaned forward in their seats, their expressions shifting from amusement to awe. When the last beast fell, Captain Kane stood in the center of the arena, his suit splattered with alien blood. He looked up at the silent crowd, his voice amplified by his suit. "Still think we're weak." The silence was deafening. Then, slowly, one alien began to clap. Others joined in, and soon the arena erupted into applause. Not mockery, but genuine respect. The humans had not only survived, they had dominated. As they left the arena, Whispers spread through the crowd. Where did they get that technology? What else are they hiding? In the shadows of the stands, Exosuits general watched the humans with narrowed eyes. He tapped his communicator, his voice cold. We need to investigate Earth immediately. Those suits, they change everything. The galactic arena had begun, but the true games were just getting started. Humanity had revealed a glimpse of their strength, and the galaxy would never see them the same way again. The secrets beneath. The galactic arena's audience was still abuzz from the humans' shocking display of power. The sleek exosuits had turned the frail Terrans into warriors capable of standing toe-to-toe with the galaxy's fiercest predators. Yet the question on everyone's lips wasn't about their victory. It was about their technology. How did they manage it? Whispered a Drellin engineer, his 12 fingers twitching nervously. Those suits, they're nothing like anything we've seen. In the humans' private quarters, Captain Darius Kane sat at a metal table, his team gathered around him. Their exosuits had folded back into compact modules, now resting in silence on the table. The room was quiet, save for the hum of a hidden energy source powering their equipment. Do you think they suspect? Lieutenant Aria Voss asked, her voice low. They'd be fools not to, Kane replied, his eyes scanning the holographic projection of the next challenge. But let them wonder. The more they focus on our suits, the less they'll focus on us. The doors slid open and a figure stepped in. It was Ambassador Lena Morrow, humanity's representative in the Galactic Council. Her face was calm, but her eyes carried a warning. The Council is already asking questions, she said, her voice measured. They want to know where we got the technology. Kane leaned back in his chair, a smirk playing on his lips. Let them ask. They won't get any answers. Morrow frowned. You don't understand. The Exosuits delegation has filed a formal inquiry. They're demanding access to Earth's research facilities. The room grew tense. The Exosuits were the most powerful species in the galaxy, their empire spanning hundreds of star systems. If they felt threatened, they wouldn't hesitate to act. Let them try, Kane said, his voice firm. They don't know what they're dealing with. Meanwhile, in the dark recesses of the Galactic Arena's administrative wing, Exosuits General Tyron was already taking matters into his own hands. His spies had infiltrated the human quarters, planting surveillance drones to gather intelligence. Report, Tyron ordered, his voice a low growl. A holographic screen lit up, displaying footage of the humans' earlier battle. The drones had captured every detail of the exosuits in action. Primitive outer design, but the energy output is off the charts, said one of his advisors, a pale-skinned alien with sharp, glowing eyes. It's unlike anything we've seen. Their power source, it could rival our own. Tyron's face darkened, and yet they hide it. Why? Perhaps they fear what we would do if we knew, the advisor suggested. Or perhaps, Tyron said, his voice colder, they're preparing for something far greater than this arena. Back in the human quarters, Kane stood before his team, his expression grim. The next event is the Obsidian Maze, he began. It's not just a test of strength. It's a test of endurance and strategy. Traps, hostile creatures, and no clear path to victory. Voss grinned. Sounds like a Tuesday back on Mars. The team chuckled, but their laughter was short-lived. Kane's tone grew serious. We'll need the suits, but we can't rely on them entirely. They're watching us now, analyzing every move. We can't let them figure out our full capabilities. What if they do? Asked Corporal Harris, the youngest member of the team. Then we make sure they regret it, Kane replied. As the humans prepared, the arena's lights dimmed, signaling the next event. The crowd roared in anticipation, eager to see if the Terrans could repeat their earlier success. But in the shadows, far from the cheering masses, a storm was brewing. The Exosuits were plotting, their eyes set not on the humans' defeat, but on their secrets. And the humans? They knew the galaxy was watching, waiting for them to falter. But Kane and his team had a plan. They always did. The obsidian maze. The arena darkened, and the crowd's excited murmurs filled the void. A voice boomed across the galactic arena, announcing the next challenge. Contestants will now enter the obsidian maze, a trial of endurance, wit, and survival. Only the strongest and smartest shall prevail. Lights illuminated the entrance to a massive, jagged structure. The obsidian maze loomed like a dark fortress, its sharp angles and shimmering surfaces reflecting faint, eerie glows. Inside, the maze was a labyrinth of shifting walls, hidden traps, and hostile creatures bred to ensure failure for the unworthy. Captain Darius Kane stood at the threshold with his team, their exosuits activated but calibrated to minimum output. The suit's dull glow hinted at their potential power, but Kane knew they had to hold back. Every move was being analyzed, and every secret revealed could be a weapon for their enemies. "Stay sharp," Kane ordered, his voice steady. "This isn't just about the maze. It's about what's watching us from the outside." Lieutenant Aria Voss nodded, gripping her plasma blade tightly. "They're already scared of what we can do. Let's make sure they stay that way." The team stepped inside, swallowed by the darkness of the maze. Immediately, the walls shifted with a grinding sound, creating a claustrophobic, disorienting environment. The floor beneath them rumbled, and faint growls echoed in the distance. "Motion sensors picking up something ahead," Harris reported, his suit's HUD lighting up with warnings. "Not just ahead," Voss said, her voice tense. "They're everywhere." Suddenly, a creature lunged from the shadows, a hulking beast with razor-sharp claws and glistening black scales. It moved faster than anything its size should, but Kane was faster. "Engage," he barked. The team reacted as one. Plasma bolts lit the maze as Voss slashed through another charging creature. Harris deployed an energy barrier, deflecting an attack from the side. Kane's exosuit thrummed with power as he grappled with a beast twice his size, driving his blade deep into its chest. The creatures fell, one by one, but the maze was far from done. "Walls are closing in," Harris shouted. The team dashed forward as the space behind them compressed with alarming speed. Ahead, the path split into 3 corridors. "Which way?" Voss asked, scanning for clues. Kane's HUD displayed faint energy readings from the left path. "That way. Move." As they ran, the air grew colder, and the floor shifted beneath their feet. The maze was alive, adapting to their every move. "This thing's trying to trap us," Harris muttered, sweat beading on his forehead. "It won't," Kane said firmly. "We're not like the others who've been through here." They reached a large chamber, where the walls suddenly stopped shifting. A faint hum filled the air as the floor lit up with intricate patterns. "Energy signatures spiking," Voss warned. The patterns began to pulse, and from the far end of the chamber, a towering robotic sentinel emerged. It was a guardian of the maze, its sleek, metallic form bristling with weapons. "Looks like we found the boss," Kane said with a grim smile. The sentinel charged, its laser cannons firing. The team scattered, using the suit's agility to evade the deadly blasts. Kane drew the sentinel's attention, dodging its attacks with precision. "Harris, give me a distraction," Kane ordered. Harris fired a barrage of plasma grenades, forcing the sentinel to shield itself. Voss used the opening to scale its side, her suit's enhanced strength allowing her to cling to the machine as she drove her blade into its core. With a deafening roar, the sentinel collapsed, sparks flying as its systems failed. The maze trembled, and a path forward revealed itself. "We're not done yet," Kane said, motioning for his team to follow. As they moved deeper into the maze, they knew the challenges would only grow more severe, but their confidence grew with every step. Outside the maze, in the observation chamber, the Thorvax General Tyron watched intently. "They're not just surviving," he muttered. "They're dominating." His advisor nodded, their expression uneasy. "If this is what they're capable of with primitive technology." Tyron slammed his fist on the table. "I want every scrap of data on those exosuits." Humanity will not gain the upper hand. But Tyron didn't understand. The human strength wasn't just in their technology. It was in their unity, their resilience, and their unyielding will to survive. And as Kane and his team pushed further into the maze, they weren't just fighting for victory. They were sending a message to the entire galaxy. Humanity wasn't to be underestimated. The turning point. The corridor ahead was eerily silent, a sharp contrast to the chaos they'd faced earlier. Captain Kane motioned for the team to halt, his instincts screaming a warning. The walls around them shimmered faintly, as though alive, and the air felt heavy with anticipation. "This feels too easy," Kane muttered, his voice low. Voss scanned the surroundings with her suit's sensors. No life forms detected, but there's an unusual energy buildup ahead. "Could be a trap," Harris said, his grip tightening on his plasma rifle. "Or something worse." The team advanced cautiously, their exosuits humming softly with restrained power. Each step echoed in the emptiness, the sound swallowed quickly by the strange material of the maze. Suddenly, the corridor widened into a massive chamber, its center dominated by a glowing pedestal. On the pedestal rested a strange orb, pulsing with an otherworldly light. The team's HUDs immediately flagged it as a high-energy object, capable of emitting vast amounts of power. "What is that?" Voss asked, her voice tinged with awe. "It's a key," Kane replied, his gaze fixed on the orb. "Or a weapon." Before anyone could respond, a voice boomed through the chamber, cold and mechanical. "Contestants, you have reached the heart of the maze. But to claim the prize, you must prove your worth." From the shadows, a swarm of drones emerged, their sleek, metallic forms glinting ominously in the faint light. They hovered in formation, their weapons primed and aimed directly at the team. "Looks like we got company," Harris said, raising his rifle. "Hold your fire," Kane ordered, his eyes narrowing. "Let's see what they're playing at." The voice continued. "The orb contains the power to reshape this arena, or destroy it. To take it, you must face the trial of unity. Fail, and you will perish." The drones moved as one, encircling the team in a tight, menacing ring. Kane's mind raced. This wasn't just about firepower. It was a test of coordination and trust. "Stay close," he said. "We've trained for worse." The first wave of drones attacked, their movements swift and unpredictable. The team split into synchronized pairs, covering each other as they dodged and countered the onslaught. Voss darted left, her blade slicing through two drones as Harris provided covering fire. Kane leaped into the fray, using his suit's enhanced strength to crush a drone midair before it could target him. The drones adapted quickly, their tactics shifting to exploit any weaknesses. But the team moved as a single, cohesive unit, anticipating each other's actions with practiced precision. "Focus fire on the lead drone," Kane shouted. A coordinated barrage of plasma bolts struck the drone, its core exploding in a burst of energy. The remaining drones faltered momentarily, their formation breaking. "Now's our chance," Voss called out. The team pressed forward, cutting through the remaining drones with ruthless efficiency. As the last drone fell, the chamber trembled and the voice returned. "You have proven your strength and unity. The orb is yours." The pedestal began to descend, revealing a hidden passage beneath it. The team approached cautiously, Kane reaching out to take the orb. The moment his fingers touched its surface, a surge of energy coursed through the room, and the maze seemed to react, its walls shifting and pulsing with newfound intensity. "What did you do?" Harris asked, his tone a mix of awe and fear. "I think we just leveled the playing field," Kane replied, holding the orb tightly. As they descended into the passage, the implications of their actions weighed heavily on them. The maze had been designed to test them, but it was clear now that they were being watched by forces far beyond the arena. In a hidden observation chamber, General Tyron clenched his jaw as he watched the humans' progress. "They're not just surviving," he said. "They're winning." His advisor nodded nervously. "Shall we intervene, sir?" Tyron shook his head, his gaze fixed on the screen. "No. Let them take the orb. I want to see what they'll do with it." Unaware of the eyes monitoring their every move, Kane and his team pressed onward, the orb's glow lighting their path. Whatever lay ahead, they were ready. For humanity, failure was not an option. The hidden agenda. The dimly lit corridor stretched endlessly, its walls humming faintly with the energy emanating from the orb. Kane led the team, his grip firm around the glowing artifact. Every step seemed heavier, as if the weight of their mission had grown with the revelations in the chamber above. "This place feels alive," Harris muttered, his voice breaking the tense silence. "It probably is," Voss replied. "This maze isn't just a test. It's part of something bigger." Kane halted, raising a hand for silence. His suit's sensors were picking up faint vibrations ahead. It wasn't just the energy of the orb. It was movement. "Stay sharp," he said, his voice low. "We're not alone." The corridor opened into another vast chamber, but this one was different. Towering statues of alien figures lined the walls, their eyes glowing faintly as if watching the intruders. In the center of the room stood a massive console, its surface covered in alien glyphs that pulsed with the same rhythm as the orb. "What is this place?" Harris asked, scanning the area. "A control room," Voss said, her eyes narrowing. "Or maybe a throne." As they stepped closer, the orb in Kane's hand began to vibrate, its glow intensifying. Without warning, the console came to life, projecting a holographic figure into the air. It was an alien, tall and regal, with sharp, angular features and a commanding presence. "Humans," the figure said, its voice cold and calculating. "You have reached the nexus of the maze. Few have come this far. Fewer still have survived." "Who are you?" Kane demanded, his tone firm. "I am Xerax, overseer of this arena and guardian of its secrets," the figure replied. "You have proven yourselves resourceful and formidable. But your kind always has ulterior motives. Why are you truly here?" "We're here to survive," Kane said, "and to prove that humanity won't be underestimated." Xerax's expression didn't change, but the room seemed to darken, as if the entity's mood had shifted. "Survival," it said, almost mocking. "A simple answer for a species that hides its true nature. The orb you carry is more than a tool. It is a key to power that could reshape the galaxy, or destroy it." The team exchanged uneasy glances. "What do you mean, destroy it?" Voss asked. "The energy within the orb can amplify or annihilate," Xerax explained. "It can fuel the greatest civilizations or reduce them to ash. The choice lies with its wielder. And I doubt humans have the restraint to wield it wisely." Kane stepped forward, his gaze unwavering. "You don't know us." "Don't I?" Xerax countered. "I have watched humanity rise from chaos, carving its place in the galaxy with fire and blood. This test was not just for you. It was for us, to decide if your species should be allowed to continue." The room fell silent, the weight of Xerax's words sinking in. "So that's it?" Harris asked, his voice tinged with anger. "This whole thing was just a trial to judge us." "Precisely," Xerax said. "And the verdict is not yet determined." Before anyone could respond, the room began to shake violently. The statues lining the walls came to life, their stone forms cracking to reveal gleaming metallic exoskeletons beneath. "The final trial begins now," Xerax declared. "Prove your worth, or perish." The statues moved with alarming speed, their heavy frames belying their agility. Kane barely had time to react before one lunged at him, its claw-like appendages swiping at his armor. He rolled to the side, firing a burst from his rifle. "Focus fire," he shouted. The team fell into formation, their exosuits enhancing their coordination and precision. Harris took out one of the statues with a well-placed grenade, while Voss used her enhanced agility to dodge and counterattack another. "These things are tougher than the drones," Harris yelled. But not unstoppable, Voss replied, her blade slicing through a statue's neck joint. As the battle raged, the orb in Kane's hand began to glow brighter, almost blindingly so. It pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat, as if responding to his determination. "Kane," Voss called out. "The orb, it's reacting to you." Kane glanced at the console, its glyphs now glowing in sync with the orb. An idea formed in his mind, reckless but their only shot. "Cover me," he shouted, breaking from the fight and sprinting toward the console. The statues turned their attention to him, but Harris and Voss intercepted them, buying Kane precious seconds. Reaching the console, he slammed the orb onto its surface. The chamber erupted in light, and a wave of energy swept through the room, disabling the statues instantly. The holographic figure of Xirax flickered, its expression unreadable. "You have activated the orb's potential," it said. "But do you understand the cost?" "We'll take that risk," Kane said, his voice resolute. The room trembled again, this time with a deeper intensity. The walls began to shift, revealing a hidden passage that seemed to stretch endlessly into the unknown. "The path is open," Xirax said. "But know this, humans. Every step you take will bring you closer to a power that may consume you." Kane turned to his team, their faces lit by the faint glow of the orb. "Then we'll step carefully," he said. Together, they moved into the passage, the weight of their choices and the future of humanity pressing heavily on their shoulders. The corridor of secrets. The hidden passage loomed ahead, its entrance a jagged arch carved into the stone-like walls of the arena. A faint, pulsating light emanated from within, casting eerie shadows across the room. Kane adjusted his grip on the orb, its glow steady now, as if guiding them forward. "This is it," Voss said, her voice low. "The next step." Harris peered into the darkness, his rifle raised. "I don't like it. Feels like walking into a trap." "It probably is," Kane replied, taking the lead. "But we've come too far to turn back." The team moved cautiously into the passage, their exosuits amplifying every sound. The crunch of their boots on the rough floor, the faint hum of distant energy, and the rhythmic pulsing of the orb. The air was thick, charged with a strange energy that seemed to seep into their very bones. "What do you think Xirax meant by the cost?" Voss asked, breaking the uneasy silence. "Power like this always comes with a price," Kane said. "We just need to make sure it's one we're willing to pay." The corridor began to widen, opening into a massive chamber unlike anything they had seen before. The walls were covered in intricate, glowing patterns that seemed to move and shift as they walked. At the center of the room stood a towering obelisk, its surface shimmering with the same energy as the orb. "This is it," Voss whispered. "The source." As they approached, the orb in Kane's hand began to vibrate violently. The glyphs on the obelisk responded, glowing brighter and emitting a low, resonant hum. Kane hesitated, feeling the weight of the moment. "What now?" Harris asked, his voice tense. Before Kane could answer, the orb floated out of his grasp, drawn toward the obelisk. It hovered in front of the structure, spinning rapidly as the room filled with blinding light. The team shielded their eyes as a deafening roar echoed around them. When the light dimmed, a new figure stood before the obelisk. It was humanoid, but its features were otherworldly, tall, ethereal, with glowing eyes and a body that seemed to shimmer like liquid metal. "Who dares awaken the Nexus?" the figure demanded, its voice echoing with authority. Kane stepped forward, his instincts screaming caution, but his resolve unshaken. "We're humans, and we've come for answers." "Humans," the figure said, almost disdainfully. "Your kind is bold, reckless. Do you understand the power you seek?" "We understand enough," Kane said. "Enough to know it's better in our hands than anyone else's." The figure tilted its head, studying him. "Your arrogance is impressive, but this power is not a weapon to be wielded lightly. It is a force that can create or destroy. Tell me, human, What will you use it for? Kane hesitated, the weight of the question pressing down on him. To protect. To ensure humanity's survival. The figure's glowing eyes narrowed. A noble answer, but many have said the same, only to succumb to their baser instincts. You must prove your worth. Without warning, the room shifted again. The walls began to close in, the patterns on them glowing brighter as they formed into a swirling vortex. The team found themselves standing on a narrow platform suspended over an endless void. What now? Harris shouted, struggling to maintain his balance. Stay together, Kane ordered, his eyes fixed on the figure. The Nexus Guardian raised its hand, and the vortex began to swirl faster. Out of it emerged a series of constructs, hulking, mechanical beasts that moved with deadly precision. Your trial is simple, the Guardian said. Survive. The constructs charged forward, their metallic claws tearing through the air. Kane and his team sprang into action, their exosuits giving them the speed and strength needed to evade the first wave of attacks. Harris fired a barrage of plasma rounds, taking down one construct, but two more emerged to take its place. They just keep coming, he shouted. We need a strategy. Voss yelled, slicing through another construct with her blade. Kane's mind raced as he dodged a powerful strike from one of the beasts. The orb and the obelisk. There had to be a connection. If they could harness the energy of the orb, maybe they could turn the tide. Cover me, Kane shouted, making a break for the obelisk. The team held their ground, fending off the relentless constructs as Kane reached the obelisk. Placing his hands on its surface, he felt a surge of energy course through him. The glyphs on the obelisk glowed brighter, and the orb floated back to his side, its light merging with the structure. The constructs froze mid-attack, their forms disintegrating into particles of light. The vortex slowed, and the room returned to its original state. The Nexus Guardian stepped forward, its expression unreadable. You have demonstrated resourcefulness and unity, but the greatest trial lies ahead. The obelisk shifted, revealing a staircase that spiraled downward into darkness. Descend, the Guardian said, and face the truth of the power you seek. Kane turned to his team, their faces reflecting a mix of exhaustion and determination. This isn't over, he said. Then let's finish it, Voss replied, leading the way into the unknown. The truth beneath the light. The spiral staircase seemed to stretch endlessly into the darkness, each step resonating with an unearthly hum. Kane, Voss, and Harris descended cautiously, their exosuits illuminating the way. The air grew heavier with each step, charged with a palpable energy that prickled their skin and made their hearts pound. What do you think we'll find down here? Harris asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Answers, Kane replied. Or more questions. The staircase finally opened into a cavernous chamber, its size defying logic. The walls shimmered with patterns of light that shifted like liquid, and at the center stood a massive crystalline structure, glowing with a pulsating energy that seemed alive. The orb floated ahead, embedding itself into the crystal, which responded by releasing a brilliant surge of light. The Nexus Guardian appeared once more, its form flickering like a hologram. You have reached the core of the Nexus. This is the origin of the power you seek, the lifeblood of countless civilizations, now dormant, waiting for one worthy to awaken it. Kane stepped forward, his gaze fixed on the crystal. What happens if we awaken it? The Guardian's glowing eyes narrowed. The Nexus will reshape the galaxy. It will end wars, destroy tyrants, and restore balance. But it will also demand a cost, a sacrifice equal to the power it unleashes. A cost? Voss asked, stepping beside Kane. What kind of cost? The Guardian's voice deepened. The Nexus feeds on life, on willpower, on the essence of those who wield it. To awaken it fully, one must offer themselves entirely. A heavy silence fell over the room. The weight of the Guardian's words pressed down on them like a physical force. Harris broke the silence. So, one of us has to die. Not just die, The Guardian corrected. You must become one with the Nexus. Your consciousness will guide its power, but your individuality will be lost forever. Kane's jaw tightened. He turned to his team, seeing the fear and resolve in their eyes. We didn't come this far to turn back now. Kane, wait, Voss said, gripping his arm. There has to be another way. There isn't, Kane replied. This power can save humanity, Voss. It can end the tyranny we've faced, protect us from the galactic overlord, and secure our future. But at what cost? Voss's voice cracked. You're more than a leader to us. Your family. Kane placed a hand on her shoulder, his eyes steady. That's why I have to do this. For all of us. The Guardian raised its hand, and the crystal began to hum louder. The choice is made. Step forward, Kane of humanity. Kane walked toward the crystal, his steps heavy but resolute. The light intensified, enveloping him as he reached out to touch its surface. Kane, Voss shouted, but it was too late. As his hand made contact, a surge of energy erupted from the crystal, engulfing the entire chamber in a blinding glow. The patterns on the walls raced toward the crystal, merging into it, as if the entire chamber was alive and responding to Kane's presence. He felt his body dissolve, his thoughts stretching outward, becoming one with the Nexus. Memories of his life flashed before him, his childhood, his friends, the battles he fought, the team he led. Each moment became part of the Nexus, fueling its awakening. The light receded, leaving the chamber eerily silent. Voss and Harris stood frozen, their eyes fixed on the crystal. It pulsed once, then began to emit a steady, radiant glow. Kane, Voss whispered, stepping closer. The Guardian appeared beside the crystal, its expression solemn. He is no longer Kane. He is the Nexus. His sacrifice has awakened the power that will reshape the galaxy. The crystal's glow intensified, projecting a map of the galaxy into the air. Points of light began to shift, representing the collapse of tyrannical regimes and the rise of new alliances. The galactic overlord's strongholds flickered and disappeared, replaced by symbols of unity and peace. Harris lowered his weapon, his voice trembling. He did it. Voss clenched her fists, tears streaming down her face. At what cost? The Guardian turned to them. His sacrifice will be remembered for generations. Humanity will thrive, but the burden of this power will remain. Use it wisely. The chamber began to tremble, the light of the crystal stabilizing. A pathway formed, leading back to the surface. Voss and Harris exchanged a glance, their grief tempered by resolve. They had a mission to complete, a legacy to honor. As they ascended the staircase, the glow of the crystal followed them, a constant reminder of the man who had given everything for the survival of humanity.